everybody. Welcome back to the Pesce Lanzillotta Team Podcast. And I think this is the fourth podcast that we've done. Today's an interesting podcast. It's 2019, the year of new beginnings, right? Everybody makes that New Year's resolution. Typically, they break that New Year's resolution by January 15th. But we're going to try and give you guys some tools to goal setting and chasing dreams. We're going to follow a nice little outline from an article that we have here and just talk about our own personal experiences and where that's taken us to this point today. We're also going to talk about some current events and a market report to catch you up on the Long Island and Manhattan real estate markets and what's going on. So to kick it off, I want to talk about, the new year. Mike, what'd
Hello.
you do this new year? How you doing, bud?
Hey everyone. I didn't do much this New Year's Eve. I just hung out with my family, some friends. We had a couple couples over our house. Everyone has kids, kids from like between 3 and newborns. So we just had a bunch of kids running around. The kids had fun. Did a fake New Year's, like the Netflix fake New Year's. Like I think it was 9 p.m. because that's when the kids were getting a little too cranky. And then everyone left, and we were in bed by 10. But it was fun. I mean, that's what New Year's is nowadays. It's all about the kids, and the kids had fun, and everyone else had a couple drinks, some laughs. So it was good.
Remember those days when everyone would call up the local hotspot? Everyone would drop like $500, get a bottle for the night, ring in the new year like a champ.
Yep.
Today we're old, man.
$100+ tickets for open bars where the bar would literally pack in as many people
and
as they could as
Yeah.
sardines. You're lucky if you can get to the bar to even get a drink.
You'd be making out with some girl at midnight. That's the way it always went down. So, all right, let's get into the subject of today's podcast, which is goal setting. Now, everybody knows that the new year, the calendar, kind of marks this time when people decide to change things about their life. I personally am not necessarily a believer of saying, okay, the calendar has changed, it is a new year, it's time to go set new goals and new ambitions and go hit them, right? I believe that you need total lifestyle changes. And in order to achieve whatever goal it is that you're looking to achieve, you need to be very thoughtful about it. You need to set the goals. You need to, set out a plan of action. You need to attack it. Now, what we're going to talk about today, in my opinion, can apply to literally anything. If you want to lose 10 pounds this year, if you want to lose 40 pounds this year, if you want to start a business, if you want to do better at your current job, if you want to go from good to great, one of the things, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I think a lot of people are. And a lot of the things that he says, I think, are very applicable to, kind of this podcast and just life in general, right? And one of the things that he says is success leaves clues, right? So, it's kind of the same formula that a lot of the most successful people in life use to go from where they are to where they want to be. And a lot of times we kind of just see the end result, right? You see the end. People, what's the quote? It's people get rewarded in public for things that they've been working on in private for years, right? So I think it's important to understand that. I think it's important to understand before we even kick this thing off that, anything you're going to achieve is going to have its challenges. It's going to be difficult. You gotta find a way to fight through that adversity and get to it. So, we have a little article here, 10 quick steps. We're going to run through them, get Mike's thoughts, my thoughts, and then we'll move on to current events. But the first thing that this article states is belief. It says that you kind of got to have faith in the process. You got to believe that this journey that you're setting out on ultimately can be achieved, right? Some people don't even have that belief.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, what is the saying? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
So that definitely is the first thing. You have to actually believe that you can achieve whatever it is your goal is. The mind is a powerful thing. I'm a big believer of that. And if you believe you can achieve it, that is the first step, is actually believing it's hope. It's
Yeah.
having hope.
Yeah.
If you don't have hope, then you're done from the beginning. So believe in yourself, have hope, and that is, I would agree, that is an important first step.
And I think to a certain degree, you have to be brave enough to have the audacity to know that whatever it is, even if it's crazy, if you've got no money, no job, no positive outlook on life, you're surrounded by negativity all around you, the people you associate, but you have belief that you could take your life from where it is to a point of greatness with abundance and wealth and happiness all around you, you could do it. But you really, at your core, have to believe, because it's the process in between the beginning and the end that is going to try and set you back constantly.
I'll make this a podcast of quotes, because it's, I can already tell I'm gonna be ripping them off. You've said one, I've said one, but what is it? The Steve Jobs quote. It's the people who are crazy enough to believe they can actually change the world that actually do.
Look at you.
Right. So it's a strong message though, because you mentioned don't if you think you're crazy or something, but that's the whole thing. It's ordinary and average results that's nothing new. People,
Yeah.
You're not proving anything new. You're not doing anything out of the ordinary. To achieve an extraordinary result, or achieve something that hasn't been achieved before, or that people think is crazy, well, yeah, someone can do it. So believe in yourself and go for it, and be crazy enough to have that belief. And guess what? You might just do something insane. You might just do something crazy and change your life, or change the world, or change someone else's life. Who knows?
There's actually been many times in history, it's actually a very interesting thing, again, I'm pulling this from Tony Robbins, that these crazy feats that people think are not possible, and a perfect example is the 1080, right? Tony Hawk did the 1080 like 10 years ago when we were kids on a skateboard. Since he's done that, it's like the new status quo.
Yeah.
Everyone achieves it. It's almost like I think there's another one, it's like the 5-minute mile or the 4.5-minute mile. Once one person did it, then that became the new bar. And suddenly everyone could do it. It's kind of like the $1 billion company, right? Apple became a $1 billion or $1 trillion company. Apple became a $1 trillion company. Amazon was a $1 trillion company like 2 weeks later. So suddenly, once you set that bar, once someone sets that bar, and it's the person who dares to be, different that does it, those goals suddenly,
They become realistic.
Yeah, they become realistic.
You believe you can achieve them, so you go for them.
Yep. So number 2 on this 10 goals to success is visualizing. So this, I'm actually a very big believer in this. I believe that if you could get really clear on what it is you want, and you could almost dream of what that will be and visualize it, you can, through hard work and sweat and tears, manifest it.
Yeah, I think this one is tied very closely to belief, right? If you believe you can do something, you're probably visualizing what that looks like. If you're not, you should be. But it goes back to what I said before. The mind is a very powerful thing. I think like NBA, there was some type of study done, or I don't know where I'm quoting this from, but I'm 99% sure it's true. There's some type of study done for NBA players when they shoot free throws, and it was NBA players who actually visualized themselves making the free throw had a higher percentage of made free throws than guys who just shot. So it's, there's a little example, but yes, if you believe you can do something and you actually then start visualizing it in your head, what does that look like? It becomes, again, your mind is a powerful thing. You're convincing your mind that it can be done. You're convincing your mind of exactly what it looks like to be done, and then those are the first 2 steps to actually achieving it.
Yeah.
So far I like this article. So far so good.
Yeah. 100. It's like Michael Jordan when he closed his eyes and made the free throw and made it.
Yeah.
And I think you got to get clear. It gives you that clarity, right? So, where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What does your life look like in 10 years? Right? And sit back, think, and actually visualize it. if you see yourself driving some exotic $250,000 car down, Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, and you're doing great in life, and that's what you want to do, then visualize it, because having that vision in your head will help you chase it. The third point in this article is get it down. It says, writing down your goals is key to success. I am reading the David Goggins book right now. David Goggins is a Marine. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast. This guy is a machine. I don't even know all the things he's achieved. I know he's run like a couple 100 miles in like 48 hours or something like that. The long and short of it is, and what I'm getting out of the book so far, I'm only a few chapters in, and I've listened to him on the podcast, so I kind of understand his message. His message is, you need to callous the mind, you need to set goals, and you got to work through problems because life isn't easy, etc. But one of the things that he's very clear on is to write things down and put it in a place that you have to look at it every day. So if that's your mirror, where you do your hair in the morning, or you get out of the shower, you brush your teeth, whatever it is, you have to see those goals every day. It's a reminder.
Yeah, I like this one also. I think the first two, belief and visualize, are in your head, so it's still a little bit of a dream. Writing it down makes it real. So when you write it down, it becomes real. And then I agree with, I would put it in a place that's visible. I would put it in multiple places that it's visible. I would also add, put it in places where other people can see it, or even share it with people you love or respect. For example, a parent. Say, hey, this is a goal of mine. I'm sharing it with you. I want to achieve this year, because that adds some accountability, and it also adds a little bit of pressure in a good sense, where you don't, if it's someone you love and respect like a parent, you don't want to be a failure in their eyes, and not that you will be if you don't achieve the goal, but sharing it with them also adds a little more motivation, because you don't want to let that person down. So now you're achieving the goal for yourself, but you're also want this person to be proud of you and prove yourself to them, so you're achieving it for someone else too. So definitely make it visible, and I would add, share it with people that you love and respect, that you want to be proud of you.
And that'll come up later in the article too. So write it down. Put it in a place that reminds you every day that you need to go conquer this goal that you've set out to achieve. The fourth bullet point is purpose. This is interesting, and this is something that, again, Tony Robbins talks about. So what he talks about is let's say you need $1 million, or you want $1 million. Once you hit that number, and you've taken care of yourself, there's really not much further to go unless you're just trying to gather more money. What he talks about is creating a higher purpose. So Tony's story is that on Thanksgiving one year, someone showed up with Thanksgiving dinner for him and his family, right? And that inspired him to then feed families during the holidays. So while Tony makes, who the hell knows, hundreds of millions, or I think he's worth like $4 billion, something crazy like that. The long and short of it is he's not driven to make that money for himself. And he got to a point in his life, if you read his books, that he had everything he wanted, and his net worth was somewhere around $20-30 million. He had everything he ever dreamed of, ever wanted, and he didn't have the real kick to go out and do more. So when you've hit these goals, or not even when you've hit these goals, but to set out and get to these goals, you need to have a purpose, right? And that purpose, a lot of the times, has to be greater than you.
Yeah, I think this one's a little ambiguous in terms of just throwing it in. I think they want to get 10 things down in this article, but I do think it's important to have a reason why, because that's your motivation. So I think that's what this one is saying is, you need to know why you're doing this. You need to know what's motivating you to do this. And if you just choose a goal, and it's some random goal, I want to read a book, I want to lose weight, I want to whatever, and you're just picking it because other people say it's a good thing to do and it's something you think you should do, that's fine, but you're probably that the purpose, the why there is probably not strong enough where you're actually gonna change your habits to achieve it. So, you know, you need to be properly motivated, and I think that's what this goal is talking about. So definitely choose a goal that you know what the purpose is, you know why, you know what your motivation is, and it's clear that the motivation is sufficient and adequate enough to actually push you to the point where you're gonna successfully achieve that goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you an example from my own life is before I had children, and a lot of people who have kids and are parents could probably relate to what I'm about to say, but before I had kids, making money was just fun. You know, it was a challenge upon myself. I said, hey, look, let's just go make this money. The more money I could make, it was it was a game, you know, but, you know, then you have kids, and something kind of like comes over you. You have this like little epiphany that, oh my God, I'm in charge of these people's lives and I'm accountable for them. Like if I fail, they suffer, right? That, for me, created a whole new purpose. And, you know, that could be the same for other people. It could be, you know, if going back to the whole losing weight thing, people are losing weight for their own health. They want to live longer. They want to feel better about themselves. Their time here on earth has to be spent in a productive way. They want to enjoy it. They don't want to be what they are today. They want a massive change. So purpose is very important. Fifth point, commit. The old burn the boats. Burning the boats or committing completely to something, I think, is probably the most important thing that you can do, because if you leave yourself with any outs when it gets real hard, you will take those outs. Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, so let me explain the burning the boats thing, because everyone might not know it. This is a Tony Robbins thing. So his whole thing is, if you want to take the island, right? Like if you're in the 1400s and you're Christopher Columbus or someone, and you want to take an island, right? Like you're in war or something. That if you really want to take the island, you'll burn the boats. Meaning you'll drive your ships there. You'll get there, and then you'll burn the boats. So essentially, you're putting your back against the wall. You're leaving yourself no choice but to succeed. Because if you don't succeed, you have no way of retreating. You have no way of leaving that island.
Can't get back on that boat.
It's literally do or die.
Yeah.
And what was the actual goal though? With the step?
Commit.
Yeah. And I think, so to me, what this means is get started. That's what this means to me, right? You've got all the other stuff. You've believed in yourself. You've visualized it. You've written it down. You've made it real. You know what your why is. You know why you're motivated. Now the next step is commit. And to me, that is get started. So now you actually have to take the first step. And listen, the first step could be just waking up at 5 a.m. instead of your normal time of 7 a.m. Right? Like that could be the first step. Just you're actually taking a small baby step. Or the first step, if you're losing weight, could be just I'm going to go to the supermarket and I'm going to buy a week's worth of food that I'm going to eat this week. So it doesn't need to be something massive, but now you're committing. You're getting started. You're okay. I'm actually going to do this. What's the first step in doing this? It's setting my alarm for 5 a.m. It's going to the store and getting the groceries. It's buying the gym membership. It's whatever it is. It's if you want to be an entrepreneur. It's quitting my job. And burning the boats and starting that entrepreneurial life. So that's what this one means to me.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Step number 6, stay focused. By focusing on the goals, you manifest them. For me, the stay focused thing goes back to really ignoring the naysayers. I mean, you kind of got to be like a horse in a race with blinders on. There's going to be a lot of people around you, and there's going to be a lot of events that occur along the way that are going to try and knock you off that line, right? There's going to be people around you that are your friends that, look, friends are friends, right? But in the end, sometimes, not all the time, some people want the best for other people, but other people start to get uncomfortable when other people start to do really well. So, when you start realizing your dream, you might have naysayers along the way. It could be family. A lot of times family is afraid to be outdone by another family member, right? There's going to be people along the way that they're not going to just say it outright, but they're going to do things or say things that at times might make you feel like they don't want the best for you, or they're trying to kind of knock you off that path, or denigrate what you've done so far. And that's when you got to have those blinders on. You got to keep moving forward. and you got to stay focused. That's my take on staying focused.
Yeah,
Right,
so
Mike?
yeah, for me, this one definitely ties back to the purpose. You need to know what your motivation and what your why is, because that's going to push you through whatever it is that you need to stay focused on. And I think for any goal that's lofty enough, that's crazy enough, where you think you can change the world, it's going to be a journey. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be there's probably going to be a lot of failure on the way to achieving that goal that you'll have to bounce back from. So to me, staying focused, it two things. One is, I think this can even go before the last step, but one, I think, is actually creating a plan, having a plan. And two is, yeah, and then two is that it's going to be a journey. Anything worth achieving, anything that's going to be great enough in your life where you really think it's going to make some monumental difference is going to be a journey. So you need to know why you're doing it. You need to have a plan, stick to it. You need to power through, and you need to be ready to bounce back from failure or challenges, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Number 7, plan of action. I'm a big believer in identifying, classifying, and executing. I'm the kind of guy that I like to sharpen the axe 100 times, swing once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the plan of action needs to be written down. It needs to be thought out. It needs to be researched. You need to have some kind of direction, but you also need to be malleable enough to bend and be able to call audibles here and there, because it's not going to be a straight line. You're going to be knocked off that path all the time, and you're going to have to kind of find your way from point A to point B from time to time.
Yeah, I would probably put this one before commit, right? So create a plan,
Yeah,
then commit.
maybe.
To me, that's what it means, is first you create a plan, and then you commit. And again, to me, commit is getting started. But definitely have a plan, and make sure it's a flexible plan. It does, something, you don't know what the journey is going to be like.
Nope.
So it's good to create a plan, because it helps achieve it. But if you need to alter course throughout the journey, go ahead, change the plan. Make sure, definitely have it, and change it and keep it in front of you, but it's not like it's written in stone.
100%. And I actually think the plan of action ties into step number 8, which is no time like the present, which is start doing. You can't get caught up in planning, never doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of people that get caught up researching, all day long, but they never swing the bat, right? You got to get out there. You got to start doing. And you got to do now. A lot of times, the best lessons I've learned in my life have been getting a general idea of something, having a plan, but then going out there and falling on my face. I don't think there's any other more valuable lesson than getting out in the world and making mistakes and using those mistakes and failures, right? Because there's no such thing as a failure. It's called failing forward, right? You want to fail forward in your doing and learn while you go, and that's going to make you better and better and better every day.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things in life like this, but I'll speak to, in terms of parenthood. Nothing can prepare you for being a parent.
No.
You can read all the books you want, go to all the classes you want, talk to everyone that's had a kid before. Nothing's going to prepare you for actually becoming a parent, actually doing it. So yes, you can have your plan, you can do everything else, but you got to start. Nothing's going to be as valuable as a lesson, and you're not going to learn from anything more than the actual process of doing it. So that and I would say that should be a part of your plan. Part of your plan should be, this is the start date. Write it down, make a date. 30 days from now, whatever it is, I'm going to start. I'm going to take action. Because you can get caught in your own mind and just perpetually plan, perpetually get ready for this journey, and then all of a sudden you've built it up to be something so big that you're never actually getting started. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest step with anything is actually getting started, because then you're on the journey. You've taken that first step.
Yep. Number 9, accountability. So there's a lot of different ways that you can keep yourself accountable. One of them ties back to what you were saying before, Mike, which is basically being loud about all of the people, about what your goal is to all of the people around you, right? So if you tell your mother, father, sister, brother, cousins, best friends that you're going to set out to lose 50 pounds this year, you're going to do it, it's a game-changing year for you, or you're going to start that business and get going, then in every interaction with these people, when they turn around and they say, hey, did you ever get how many pounds are you down? You look like you lost a little weight. Or, hey, did you ever get started with that business? Did anything ever manifest with that? That is a reminder or a way to keep yourself accountable and motivated towards getting to that goal, because as people, we care about what other people think about us to a certain degree, especially the people that we associate with, right? So if we associate with people who believe or have heard that, hey man, I'm real motivated to do this year, and this is it, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and if 2 months later you're talking to them and you haven't even taken the first step in doing so, well then, you're not setting out on that journey. You've failed before you've even begun, right? So, and some people, what they also do is they get an accountability coach. There are a lot of real estate agents, for instance, that have real estate coaches. It's a big industry. You have the Mike Ferrys of the world, the Tom Ferrys, Dirk Zeller, you name it. These guys out there, they've made a living being a real estate coach, and their job, their function, and what they do is they keep people accountable. They keep people focused on their goal, and they're setting out metrics to keep them on their path to success that they want them to achieve.
Yeah, I think there's two types of accountability. One is self accountability, and two is external. I'll call it external accountability. So it's hard to hold yourself accountable. That requires an insane amount of discipline. If your purpose is big enough where you can do that, then hats off to you. But that's insanely hard to do. So hold yourself accountable. Really try and check yourself every now and then, and make sure you're holding yourself accountable, and correct course when you need to. But also, I would say add in some external accountability, and if that's adding in friends and family to your goal and asking them to hold you accountable, if that's adding some type of financial accountability somehow, whatever it may be, definitely give yourself that secondary external accountability, because it'll help. It'll help when the going gets tough, and maybe there's that day that you're tired, or you just don't feel like doing something. And your self accountability is not too strong. Maybe that external accountability can help push you to get through it.
Yeah, David Goggins talks about this a lot. He actually, the way he says it, because he uses a lot of curses and stuff. So he basically says, the mind is an old motherfucker, but no one knows you better than your mind. So any opportunity for self-doubt or quitting, the mind is there. You have to be smarter than your own thoughts to a certain degree. And that's, like you just said, very difficult to do, which is why you have to have some kind of external accountability. For me, the way I do the external accountability is I tell everyone what I'm doing. And then, to a certain degree, if I'm not doing it, I feel like a piece of shit, to be honest with you. So, everyone in my life knows what I'm doing, what my goals are, where I'm going, and why I'm doing it. And every time they ask me, how are things going, when I have nothing but positive things to say, for me, that's the reward. And that's what keeps me accountable. Last step is review. I think it's important to review your goals. I think you need to stop every now and then, take a look around, measure your goals, tweak your goals, and make your processes more efficient. Mike, what say you?
Yeah, I think the whole thing with this, essentially what it comes down to is changing your habits. If I'll add another quote in, because it's been a little while since I've said one, but it's what is it, the Einstein quote? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? Yep. So if you're setting a goal to achieve something that you have not yet achieved, you're going to have to do something you have not yet done, which essentially means changing your habits. You need to change what you're doing on a daily basis. So, and it's hard to change your habits. It takes discipline and all the stuff that this article is talking about. But in order to change your habits, you have to stick with it. You have to review, hold yourself accountable. Everything that the article talked about, like I said. So for me, it all breaks down to just building new habits to achieve the new goal.
I think you could also celebrate wins along the way. No.
Definitely.
Right, you have to. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some fruits to your labor. So set milestones for yourself. When you hit it, I don't know, go out with your wife, go out with your friends, go out with the people you work with, celebrate. Take a moment to reflect, review, and be happy about how far you've come. Because in the end, you got to remember where you began, why you set out to do it. And if you're not recognizing yourself along the way, it's very difficult to keep going.
You have to enjoy the journey.
That's right, that's right. So, okay, so anything else to say regarding that, by the way?
No.
No?
Let's go.
We're
Go
good?
get it.
Current events. Current events. By the way, if anybody has any, questions, wants to reach out and talk about those last 10 rules, you got something you want to achieve, you want me to hold you accountable, shoot me an email, info@pl-team.com. Anyway, current events. Got some current events to talk to about here, things that have happened maybe late last year into the new year. A lot of articles from The Real Deal here to talk about. The first one I want to discuss is Amazon's HQ2. So, New York City basically incentivized Amazon to come to Long Island City, and they are now renting office space in the city building, and they're bringing 25,000 employees. This is not the first time this has happened to this effect. I mean, Facebook has a headquarter in Manhattan, so does Google, which is interesting because New York's kind of becoming like a lot of people think it might become like a little bit of a tech hub, which would be awesome. I think, from my point of view, when you're talking about tech in general, that's the new wave, right? I think companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon are going to be around for the long haul, and if they're around for the long haul, they're going to have high-paying jobs. High-paying jobs is good for the city. So, I actually have a buddy who lives in North Astoria. He couldn't be more upset about this, and the reason he couldn't be more upset about this is because he feels like the congestion. He's a typical New York complainer, but the long and short of it is he feels like the congestion and the overpopulation is bad enough, and it's only going to get worse. So, one thing that I've learned over the years of research is that when your company gets big enough, they actually recruit. When your company gets big enough, states, cities, municipalities, they reach out to the business owner, and what they do is they basically recruit the company to come to their city. Now, why do they do that? They do that because when you have a company in a city, right, now there's jobs in that city, those jobs pay city tax. Those people that work at those jobs buy real estate in those city, which every time a piece of real estate is bought or sold in Manhattan, there's transfer taxes, right, and city taxes along with the sale. Those people that now move to that neighborhood, they need restaurants, they need grocery stores, they need the local barber, you name it. They're going to their stores, they're spending money in that city. There's sales taxes, city sales taxes on all the sales in those cities. So this is very good for New York, I think. I think it's very interesting that there's a lot of tech companies in the New York area now. Those companies are also now going to be filling a lot of the empty units that are in Long Island City, because as we all know, New York City's been a little overdeveloped. And I think this is all in all good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good thing, and I've heard both sides of the coin. There's been people say that Governor Cuomo gave up too much, provided too many incentives to Amazon for them to come. I haven't read into exactly the incentives and all that was given, so I won't speak to that. But like Ron was saying, there's folks who live in these neighborhoods that have said this is crazy. We don't even have the proper infrastructure, the trains, the subways to service the existing community. How are we going to add in 25,000 employees and their families and whatever else and service that? So I understand that side of the coin. But then there's other people who, we're licensed, we do business in Long Island City, and there's people buying apartments, spot unseen via text message because they see it as a great buying opportunity for real estate that's going to appreciate because this huge company just came in. My personal opinion is change is good. You have to adapt. You can't just stay stagnant. The status quo never lasts forever with anything. So change is good. Nothing, the fact that this huge company is coming in, that's going to help. That's going to bring so much more attention to probably what is true in inadequate infrastructure of trains and subway systems, etc., in the community. And that's going to eventually propel change. Yes, might it be might be bad initially, but I think ultimately it'll cause change. That's a great thing. I think the other thing is for Long Island is that these are probably, a lot of them are probably young people. There's probably families too, but these are people that are initially gonna work and then eventually start families and start moving to the suburbs of Long Island. A lot of them. So I think it'll be great for the communities east
100%.
of Long Island City
Oh yeah.
that you know that are more end user, more family oriented suburb communities. So all in all, I think it's a good thing. I think if you have a company like Amazon coming into your neighborhood, yes, you can complain about some things, but I think ultimately it's gonna make your community and your neighborhood much more prosperous.
So on to the next piece of news: the L train shut down. So the L train is a train that connects the Williamsburg, Brooklyn area to Manhattan. A lot of people were worried about this train shutting down because it was going to be shut down for I think 2 or 3 years, and during that time, a lot of people felt like the Williamsburg real estate prices were going to fall through the floor because how do you get to the city now, right? The long and short of it is Cuomo struck a deal with, I guess, the unions to not, so the way they're going to be doing the construction is they're not going to shut down the L train. They're going to somehow simultaneously keep the L train open while doing construction, and but supposedly this work is going to span over like the next 10 or 11 years, which means in New York City terms, 25 years, we'll probably be dead or retired by the time this commences. But interesting piece of news that everybody was very concerned about the L train and the real estate that the L train takes into Manhattan to go to work every day. It is no longer shutting down, which is a good thing, but we're probably going to see, 10 years of delays and God knows what. It's going to be like the BQE of the subway.
Yeah, I think what this, to me, this is just that there's a lot of macro factors, economic factors that can affect real estate prices in neighborhoods, what's going on politically, what's going on with interest rates, things like that. But there's also all these micro factors that are neighborhood specific, which us as agents have to keep track of, and we have to keep track of them in a lot of neighborhoods because that's, we do business in a lot of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like eventually you have to bite the bullet. If you want to complain that the infrastructure is not good enough, eventually you have to bite the bullet and deal with the hassle of improving it. And that's with anything in life. You can't just it goes back to what I was saying before about change. You can't just continue with things as they are forever. At some point you have to bite the bullet and deal with a little bit of suffering, for lack of a better word, so that you can benefit from the ultimate improvements.
Yep.
So I again think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, obviously, especially if they're going to keep it open, it's going to prop up real estate prices in the short term. So, Zillow Instant Offers is expanding to Dallas. So, I don't know if anybody knows about this program. If you don't, basically what it is if you are going to sell a property, Zillow has a program where it lets prospective sellers get an online quote for an all-cash offer in as few as 48 hours from Zillow. So let's say you wanted to sell your house, you didn't want to go through the whole hassle of having a realtor. You could go to Zillow Instant Offers. Zillow Instant Offers exists in Phoenix, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Denver, and Charlotte as of right now, and they're expanding to Dallas. Mike, would you ever in a million years buy a house digitally like a stock on E-Trade?
So it's funny, if you asked me a million years ago would I ever get, if you asked me 10 years ago would I ever get groceries delivered from ordering them online, my answer would have been no. But yet I do it and I love it. So
yeah,
I don't.
You're talking about $100 and $150, $200 purchase in groceries, or you're talking about a $500,000 house.
Yeah. So to me, because listen, I mean technology. So I don't want to ever doubt technology and say never. Technology could get good enough where you could put on these virtual reality headsets and you could tour a house digitally. To me, what this instant offers thing is you're selling your house at a discount. If you're just going to sell it instantly off Zillow, you're essentially selling it at a huge discount, right? So the technology's not there yet. You can't put on a virtual reality headset and walk through a house and see all the details you want to see and really get a good idea of what you're buying.
Well,
so
not
if
even
someone's
that.
gonna,
I think you can, even if you could, okay, and to a certain degree with like those Matterport, like, digital walkthroughs, you kind of can. You still gotta, Listen, you could walk into a house, it could smell of mold. You can't get that off the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't walk into a house, it's a tangible asset. It's something that exists. It's a structure. I feel like you got to go in there. You got to see it, feel it, touch it, smell it. Knock on the wall, see how it's built. There's no way that this, in my opinion, ever takes off. Real estate's too tangible.
So we're in agreement. I think my point is that as things stand right now, we work with buyers every day. Consumers aren't going to buy something from Zillow Instant Offers unless it's a steal. Unless they're 99% sure I got such a good deal, I can't lose out. And then I agree with you. Right now, it's a very tangible thing. I think what I'm saying is, in the future, I could see technology getting us to a point where you can do all the tangible things remotely, and we're probably at least 10 years away from that. So when that happens, yes, maybe instant offers online will be a good thing, because you can get the same experience of going into a house and smelling the house and knocking on the walls and all that, because technology has progressed. But at this point in time, you're either insane to buy something off Zillow Instant Offers, unless you're 100% confident that you got a steal on the property. So for sellers, it makes no sense. For buyers, listen, if you can get something that is such a good deal that you're confident there is no way you've made a bad investment, then I think it's a good thing. But I don't think I think this is an ambitious plan at this point. We're not ready for it yet.
I mean, maybe it would be good for like foreclosures, right?
Yeah.
Foreclosures, short sales. I mean, if I was a bank, and let's say the fair market value of a house was $500,000, and the person owes me, say, $450,000 on a mortgage, and they're defaulting, and instead of maybe selling it short, we could shift to a Zillow instant offer, and maybe because of the exposure and the fact that it's already being sold under value, you could maybe get more. I don't know.
For investors or corporations that are buying houses for different purposes, maybe there's some way it could work. But for the average person who's investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into what's likely to be their largest asset, I mean, you'd have to be insane to just do a Zillow instant offer. And for a seller, you'd have to, for selling, what's hundreds of thousands of dollars and likely your largest asset, you'd have to be insane to just trust it to something like that. So I don't think, we're not at a point where I don't see this being, happening in the masses or being successful. There might be one-off, instances where something like this works or makes sense, but it's just, we're not there yet.
Yeah. All right, next piece of news. Dottie Herman, our CEO, has cashed out of Douglas Elliman for $40 million. Now, my opinion is, I find it interesting. Here's why I find it interesting. I don't find it interesting that she cashed out her 29% stake in the company. I think it's interesting at the number it cashed out at. In reading this, based on what she bought the company out at, the company valuation would be $136 million. Okay? We currently have 7,000 agents and $27 billion in deal volume in 2018. Granted, I think 2018 was a down year.
That's the accumulated number of actual properties sold. So if you sell $90 million penthouse in Manhattan,
that $90 million
Central Park
goes
South,
towards that
that
number.
goes. But you're not. Element hasn't brought in the revenues of $90 million. Element's brought in the commission revenues.
Compass, after its Series F fundraising round in September, was valued at $4.4 billion.
So I think I'll relate this to a house because we're in real estate. To me, this is the equivalent. This is hype. This is you.
Hold on. Let me finish that fact. Compass is over 30 times more valuable than Element based on that valuation. I think that's insane.
Well, that's insane. To me, what that says is Compass is overvalued. I mean, Compass. How much does Compass do in sales? But it's like it's walking into a new construction that has all the bells and whistles, that has the fresh paint, and overpaying for it, as compared to the house down the block that you can get at a steep discount and put a little money into, and it's worth the same. So I think, Compass has to be overvalued.
Gotta be.
There's no way.
That's
There's no
wild.
way Dottie would take a payout that would be that undervalued
Yeah.
for Element. So listen. Good luck to all the Compass investors. I hope
Yeah.
that company is successful.
I think they're all screwed, to be completely honest.
Listen. I think it's a great idea. I hope the company's successful. I think competition in the marketplace is a good thing.
It keeps
And I
everyone
think
moving
change, like
forward.
I've said, is a good thing. So ultimately, if Compass is successful, I think that propels the whole industry forward, and we're in that industry.
gotta
But I
say,
just
though,
can't see how Compass is worth that.
I gotta say the Element brand is the best brand though, by far.
100%.
100%. And we're playing in the best markets in the world. Listen to this. When Herman and Lorber bought Element from Insignia Financial Group in 2003 for $72 million, Element had just 250 agents, 13 offices, and was a pure play New York shop with about $4 billion in annual sales volume. So, in 16 years, they've taken a $4 billion sales volume company and pushed it to 27. Wow. That's pretty wild. Good for them.
Yes, absolutely.
We're in the right boat, needless to say. All right. Last piece of news, pop-up stores becoming an increasingly viable option for mall owners. This is more of a commercial discussion. I think this is actually pretty interesting. Anchor stores, the JCPenney's, the Macy's, and all that. Mall space in general and retail has taken a hit since the advent of Amazon and everything. And these pop-up stores are becoming just a way for mall owners to cover their rents. We actually went to a pop-up. Me, my wife, and my daughter. The Trolls Experience in the city is actually a pop-up. It's been there for a little while, a few years, but it's considered a pop-up. And if you look around, if you really like peel apart like what they did with that space, it all sort of looks temporary, but what a great concept, right?
Yeah, Halloween stores are like that.
You
I
gotta
always
get
see like the
creative.
pop-up Halloween stores. It's,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
gotta do what you do.
to fill those spaces. All right, so market report, Long Island. This isn't the Element market report. This is straight off the MLS. What we see in Nassau County, the percent of the active listings is up 15.11%. The number of contracts signed is down 3.47%. What does that tell you? In my opinion, what we're headed towards with this 2019 spring season, which is your typical selling season here on Long Island. I think with rising interest rates and the volatility in the stock market, which is absolutely insane lately, scared money sits on the sidelines. I think we're going to see a lot of people put their houses up for sale, and with the rising interest rates and people getting a little trigger shy and buying, because a lot of people kind of know that the real estate market is kind of headed for a dip. I think they're not going to be so quick to act. They're going to kind of scope the market, find the best deal, and be more patient. So I think we're headed towards a buyer's market here on Long Island. That's Nassau County. Suffolk County, a little different. The numbers are better. The percent of active listings has gone up 3.32%, and the contracts has gone up 4.34%. So Suffolk's actually performing better than Nassau as of right now.
Yeah, what that tells me is there's an affordability issue in Nassau.
Oh yeah.
So
I
less
get that.
people are, the numbers are directly correlated. Less people are buying, so there's no homes on the market. Yeah, so if less people are buying, then less homes are selling, which means homes are sitting on the market longer. There's a higher number of homes on the market, so inventory is starting to build up. I think one of the main things, it's a fact, one of the main things that kept prices so, I don't want to say inflated, but so high over the 2017, 2018 years, where there was a shortage of inventory. There was historically low inventory on the market, and simple laws of supply and demand tell you that the shortage of inventory, those homes are going to sell at premiums. Now that's changing. Now we're starting to see homes sit longer. Home inventory is building up. Plus you have the increase in interest rates and all the economic uncertainty that we're talking about. So yes, so the market is, I don't want to say, it's still a very strong real estate market, but it's definitely softening from what it was in 2017 and 2018. and that's why those numbers are what they are.
Yep. So the Manhattan Element Report reads that listing inventory overall, this is the entire Manhattan market south of Harlem, the Upper East Side and Upper West Side south, is the listing inventory is up 11.8%. The months to sell a property has gone up 15.4%, but the average sale price is up 3.5%. The median sales price is down 5.8%. What does that tell you? So if the average sale price is higher, it's because there was some monster sales in the uber luxury market in Manhattan. But if you look at the median sales price, which is more of the true accurate number when it comes to the statistics of the market, that's down 5.8%. Inventory's up. The resale market, now resale is defined as properties that are owned that are being resold by owners. The average sale price basically stayed the same. The inventory is up 17.1%, and months to sell is up 14.5%. Co-ops listing inventory is up 23.8%, months to sell 17.3%. Condos up 2.9% in inventory, months to sell is up 18.8%. And I mean, it's just evidence that we're in a buyer's market.
Yeah, I think the other number which is interesting to me is in December, for the month of December, mortgage applications were down 20% year over year. So 20% compared to December previously. So what that means is less buyers are applying for mortgages. So it tells me there's an affordability issue, and I think it's twofold. One is that a lot of sellers haven't come to grips with the current market, and they're still expecting prices that are not there currently, so they're pricing their house too high. But the other thing is, with the rising interest rates and the economic uncertainty, right? If someone bought a house over the past 10 years with an interest rate in the high 2s or 3s somewhere, they're now having, if they want to buy a new house, they have to pay an interest rate, between 4.5% and 5%.
So why move?
Exactly, and they're saying plus the homes are still, the housing market still hasn't corrected enough to the point where I even think it's a good enough deal. So people aren't buying because what they're living in is currently more affordable. So until the affordability issue changes, I think we're going to continue to see the numbers we're seeing. But like I said, it's still a strong real estate market. If you price your house properly, you'll still sell it quickly and still get a good number. But you're selling it for the market we're in today, not the market we were in 2 years ago. And ultimately, I think selling it in the market we're in for today is a good thing, because I think the market we're going to be in a year or two from now has, I'm not a fortune teller, but has a good chance, there's a good potential that it will be the same, if not a little lower than it is today. I think it's a pretty much unanimous agreement that the housing market that is not likely to continue going up as it's been. If anything, it'll stay even, stay flat, or decline, to some level, whether that's slight or major, who knows. But I think that's what we're looking at for the next few years.
And the last thing you want to do is be chasing the market down. Right?
100%.
You do not want to chase the market down. You want to get ahead of it and sell at the fair market value today.
If you aren't willing to stay in the house you're in for the next 5 to 10 years, if that's not an option, if that's not realistic for you,
then you got to get real.
Then price it right and sell it right for the market you're in. The good thing is, if you buy a house in the market you're in, then you're pretty much, then it's a wash. I mean, the ultimate is if you sell your house now, you're willing to rent for a period of time, and then you buy. I mean, then you're getting to time in the market, and now you're making life decisions based on finances, and who knows if that's the right thing to do. So,
in my opinion, the only thing that could turn the housing market around and push it back into a seller's market is if, again, and this is for another podcast, but is if Donald Trump could put enough pressure on the Federal Reserve that they stop hiking interest rates. That's it. Mike, this was awesome. Very good podcast. And let's wrap it up. If you guys want to get in touch with us, any questions, you want to come in for an interview, you think you have some good content to share, reach out to us. Give us a call. Our office line is 516-888-9711. Our email is info@pl-team.com. That's info@pl-team.com. Reach out to us. Questions, comments. Rate us on your podcast provider. And until next time. Mike, anything to add?
See you next time.
See you next time.